Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the Foch 155 because I would like to introduce you to this tank first, but also tell you about all the buffs and nerfs it went through, because that tank is the perfect example of wargaming nerfing without nerfing. But you're going to understand what I mean right now during this video, so let's not lose too much time and jump directly into it. Most players, the Foch 155 is one of the best tank destroyers you can get at tier 10, and for the right reasons. The tank is mobile, has some good armor, and the gun is just phenomenal. If I'm not mistaken, it's the only tier 10 tank destroyer beside the heavy 405 to feature an autoloader, and instead of having 460 alpha damage like the heavy, this one features 540 per shot. And it's quite interesting to see that, because it's the perfect mix between a gun that will inflict quite a lot of damage, but that doesn't necessarily fit the requirement of the 640 traditional alpha damage gun. But at the same time, it's not that big or not that impressive, which allows you to bait your opponents. What I mean by that is that when you encounter people that don't know necessarily about the Foch 155, especially new players, you shoot one time and they're not gonna move thinking that that's it, you have a 10 or 13 seconds of reload and they can sneak a shot before heading back to their safe position. Here it's not the case. You have 7.1 seconds between shells, which is obviously a great advantage while rolling or anything like that. Here, for example, against the VK that decided not to move, we just put 2 shells in a row without even struggling. The cool feature also about the tank is its penetration, because as you're playing on an autoloader, I'm playing it with calibrated shell, which means that you have more penetration than ever, which means that not necessarily all the time you will not have to use your gold shell, sorry. Now, why did I say at the beginning of the video that we talked about a nerf without being a nerf? Because the Foch 155 was not the tank you see right now in the game, at least not always. Because the first time it was introduced, it didn't feature an autoloader. It was just a traditional one-shell gun, the same that we have on the Grill 15. If I remember correctly, you reloaded in 12.5 seconds or something like that. You had 640 alpha damage. And after that, as a lot of people complain because they thought the Foch 155 would be an autoloader, like it's the case in World of Tanks PC, well, the developers decided to listen to the community, and thank you Wargaming for that, and they just changed the tank. Now you have the possibility to switch off between the first gun, which is the autoloader you see right there, and the second gun, which is the Foch from the good old days. Obviously, nobody's playing it with the regular gun, everyone plays it with the autoloader, which is totally logical because it features more DPM, better penetration, pretty much every single statistic is better about it. And it's for the best, because that tank you see right there is truly a beast. Look at this. In 3 minutes here, I'm already at 5k damage, and I did not even struggle thanks to the great DPM I feature. Now, we didn't talk about the main nerf that occurred on the tank, because yes, it went from a regular shell, one-shell gun to an autoloader, but Wargaming decided to nerf it twice. The first time was kind of a buff with the new gun implemented, but the second factor, amazing jump right there, was that when it was first introduced, this gun, it had 640 alpha damage per shot, which means that you had around 1.3k damage per burst, which was a little bit insane. And in order to slow that down, we are gonna see a replay. Basically, what happened is Wargaming decided, as it was too strong, to reduce the reload time of the Foch 155, but also decreasing its average damage per shot. And this is where the nerf without being a nerf thing is introduced, because Wargaming kept the exact same DPM, even increased it, but they just decreased your ability to burst a lot of damage at the same time. And to be fair, I think it was one of the greatest buffs, because everyone complained at first, fearing for the Foch to become useless, but after the buff, everyone was happy with it, because it changed one thing and one thing only: you are not anymore completely broken when it comes to rolling against your opponents, which means that Wargaming kind of reduced your role on the battlefield to a traditional tank destroyer playstyle, which is exactly what we expect from tank destroyers. I mean, if we had a tank that was multi-role implemented, it would it would piss off a lot of players. So well, this is not what happened, and it's probably for the best. Just take a look at that. Here we have 7.1 seconds of reload still, and we are doing quite a lot of damage. Just take a look at this. We nearly sneaked 1.4k damage on this one, on that poor Foch 155. And it was too much. It was literally too much. There was nothing the enemies could do. And of course, when a lot of people complain, Wargaming is taking actions. We can hate them for a lot of things, but definitely not for that. So there we go, we are already at 2k damage with 3 shells, which is something impossible nowadays with the Foch. But hey, at least it's pretty cool to see how the tank evolves. Of course, it also allows me to introduce the subject of new tanks, and especially either definitely new tanks that Wargaming will implement, or even old tanks that the community doesn't like or wants Wargaming to either remove or upgrade or decrease also. The thing is, by judging the abilities of the Foch and by showing us that they are able to nerf a tank without nerfing it, I feel like Wargaming made a whole challenge, because right now we should be expecting them to balance perfectly their tanks. They have access to plenty of statistics because they are gathering statistics all the time, and it would be interesting to see, for example, something done about, I'm thinking about the Object 268 version 4 that is still in test right now, or those kind of things. And it's also giving me hope on the future of the game, because it seems like when a tank becomes boring or a little bit overpowered, like it was the case of the Foch, Wargaming is taking actions regardless of its abilities or just the fact that they want to make the tank relevant again. And to that I say thank you, because instead of classing the whole playstyle, what they're doing is allowing us to renew with a tank we already had in our garage. Now, of course, if I had one advice to give you boys, if you are close to a tier 9 tank destroyer and you're thinking about a tier 10, you should definitely try to get the Foch 155. This one is in my top 3 best tank destroyers you can acquire at tier 10. It's extremely fun to play, and it's also not necessarily too much punishing as long as you stay right in front of your opponents and you don't take too many risks, because your frontal armor will bounce as long as the enemies are not using gold shells. So well, tell me what you think. Would you rather play the Foch 155, the first version, with the one-shell gun? Would you rather play the second one with the 640 Alpha, or the latest one introduced? Personally, and it's gonna be surprising, I would rather play this one that we have right now in the game, because I was not a big fan of the big burst before, because the reload time was a little bit too much in my opinion. And the first one with the one-shell autoloader doesn't feel like a Foch at all. Now we have the whole series of French tank completed. We have the Foch with an autoloader, the 50B with an autoloader, the Batchat with an autoloader. I just pray for Wargaming not to do an AMX MLE M4 54 autoloader. Otherwise, yeah, that's gonna be terrible for others. So if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And personally, I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.